I'm absolutely disgusted. I'm disgusted by something that has occurred in this country over the past couple days. I am far from a social justice warrior. I'm far from making us think about these kind of things. I want to have a good time. I want to make you guys forget about your problems. But when we are faced with something as disgusting as the video that came out yesterday or on Tuesday, whenever you're watching this, Tuesday of this week, we have to speak up. It would be an injustice and disrespecting the platform that we've so graciously been given to not speak up about a topic like this. On Tuesday, a video came out showing an event that happened on Monday of a white police officer kneeling on the back of a black man's neck for over 5 minutes while the man pleaded for his life, begged for his mother, and gasped his final breaths of air on this planet. A crowd gathered around begging the police officers to stop, and they were met with resistance from the police officers' partners who told them to stand back as the officer in question, or not in question because there's no question here, murdered a man in broad daylight. Murdered him. This was an execution. Now, the reason this one is a little bit easier to talk about, although still creating the visceral, disgusting fucking reaction that I felt every time one of these videos comes out, there's no question here. There's no debate. There's no conversation. We are aligned that there was a cop who murdered a man in broad daylight.
Yeah.
We are also aligned that his partners acted as accessory to murder. The only question at this point is what happens next. The next day, they were immediately without job.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And that made very few people happy, but it made some people happy. Today, the mayor of Minneapolis has recommended charges against the officer. I want to first say the name of George Floyd, the man who died, before I say anybody else's name. But Derek Chauvin, the cop who did it, is now being recommended for charges by the mayor of Minneapolis.
And they opened up to an FBI investigation as well.
An FBI investigation. Mm-hmm. It's all opening up. And so we'll sit now and watch what happens next.
So what happens here that a police officer finds this necessary? And it's hard because we don't have the full context at the time of this.
I'm going to stop you.
Regardless,
it's important that I stop you because
I don't know what you're going to say.
I know. And I want to say it, and I want to be very clear. Very clear right off the bat. And I've watched other police say this all day today. I don't give a fuck what the fucking context is. I told you earlier today, I don't care what someone is fucking doing. I don't care if they're resisting. It does not matter. He is face down, handcuffed, being murdered. Once someone is detained, the police job is over. It doesn't matter if he was on a murderous rampage, and we should get into this, and I'm sorry for getting upset. It does not matter. Once the police officer has subdued and detained the criminal, their job is done. That does not give them the right to decide who lives and dies in this fucking country, whether they are black or fucking white. They are not judges, they are not jurors, and they sure as fuck are not executioners. And every day, every week, I have to watch cops deciding that it is their option to carry out execution on American citizens. I do not want this mislabeled. This was not a detainee resisting arrest. This was cold-blooded fucking murder. Mm-hmm. Hard stop. Unacceptable. And while your question obviously has merit, the simple point is that the context doesn't matter. It doesn't.
While I agree in this specific circumstance, I think the word that you use there, which is the problem in all of this, is the word job. It's his job. And he has, for whatever reason, his human nature took over him and he did what he did because he decided to no longer do his job. There's an evil in the officer. I don't know his name, but I am confident that he will face repercussions for his actions.
It's hard. The guy certainly abuses power here. We know that. He was a police officer.
All this so
do
fucking
I.
much.
It's tough to talk about. It's definitely a tough topic. No one. It's clear that this man was murdered in front of us. We saw the video, and there's definitely, it was right to always be filming the police. This man will face his retribution in the legal world
There's so many problems here because obviously this is such a complex situation where because of shit like this, cops become pigs. And
I don't want that.
I do not either. But unfortunately, this is the thing that went viral, and this is a part does not represent the whole. Police officers are here to protect us.
They're an essential public service. I'm not questioning that. I back cops. I appreciate them. I believe that the majority of police officers in this country are doing incredibly, very hard and a job that I don't even have a right to judge them on when it comes to slight miscalculations or miscarriages of justice.
This was not that.
This was not a slight miscarriage of justice.
This guy's not a police officer.
And this is also not the first. This is also not the first time this has happened.
Right.
This is not the first time this has happened. This is one of many, 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 many cases of unarmed black man being killed by white cop while not resisting arrest. Once again, context aside, the context in this one, as we know, is this man had been alleged to have forged checks, forgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. If he's swinging his arms, he's pissed off. I didn't forge those checks. Get the fucking guy in handcuffs. You got 5 cops. Put him in the car and bring him to the police station until his trial. You are not the judge. You are not the jury. You are not the executioner. You're not. The job you signed up for and the job that I appreciate the men and women who do that job every single day is to protect public safety and to stop threats. Mm-hmm. When that man is face down on the concrete, handcuffed, he is no longer a threat to anyone. To anyone. Get it. You have 5 cops there. Get him into the car.
Yeah. Another problem here is one of the guys behind the scenes in the camera talks about how this is not a proper detaining mechanism to subdue a person.
Yeah.
You should never put your knee on someone's neck. It's all over the comments on articles across the web.
I'm confused with the accountability here.
That's the biggest question.
Well, because like even his partner, like why?
How is he just standing by?
Why are cops not holding cops accountable? Why is there no extreme retribution for shit like this? And yeah, we did talk about this, and we asked around, and apparently, if cops go against cops, they're deemed a rat.
It's called the blue line. It's a really popular discussion point. We talked about it this morning at length with experts in this space, with people who consult in this space. Once again, I wanted to find out what people thought. This one, there's no cops on this guy's side. There's no cop saying that this was right or that it could even be argued to have been right. This was simply put a murder. And I'm not going to keep sticking into it. You just brought up the biggest point of all, which is what now? What next? Now that once again a city is, for lack of a better terms, burning because of riots and rightfully so.
But they were started as peaceful protests.
They started as peaceful protests.
Okay, that should be noted. It wasn't just a riot that immediately erupted. It was people who were actively social distancing and peacefully protesting as well as they could, enraged, rightfully so, but walking the streets to shake up the world and bring attention to this horrible incident. And then, the other side of this was that activists in, where was it, Virginia, with white protesters with guns
Michigan,
all over the place.
Yeah.
And the peaceful protests here were turned into riots by police engagement.
I don't want to be to say who threw the first rock. Like I don't know what happened.
Sure.
The difference with this is on video, so we can speak directly to it. And once again, obviously the context may be missing. Regardless, it's just like watching this video created such a visceral and disgusting reaction in me. It disgusts me to imagine myself as that man. Whether I've been in drug-fueled rampages before, out of my mind, not listening to the orders of people. You want to know what didn't happen to me? I wasn't face down on the ground, handcuffed with a man's full body pressure pressing into my neck so that I couldn't breathe, screaming, "Mom, please help me, Mom." Watching people around me unable to get me assistance as I felt my life slip away from me. That's the feeling that people who watch this story can't get. I feel it in me. Being unable to get help as you watch a fucking cop who's responsible for your safety kill you. It fucking disgusts me, dude. And I don't know what the solution is. But my hope as a human being on this planet is that there is one.
I think what we'll see is that these cops, my guess would be that they're made an example of. They're definitely being attacked in the media by every single person. Attacked in the social media. I haven't seen the news on how the worldwide media is handling it. But this is a specific case of martyrdom. How many more lives do we have to lose before something changes? We've seen that racism is running rampant in the country, and it has not gotten better. When will that change? We've been fighting for this for years.
So that's the big problem. It's the problem that is racism, and obviously that's not going to be a simple fix. I think two things that we can implement right away is cops holding cops accountable. I think that will help. I also think doing a better job of vetting who our police officers are.
Yep.
If you know that there's a man who exhibits even the slightest display of racism, get him the fuck out immediately.
Yeah.
The slightest display of a person who exhibits rage or has temper tantrums or when he's flustered, can't think correctly, get him out.
And I'm one of those people. And if I was,
that's why you're not a cop.
I know, and that's what I was just about to say. That's why I'm here giving my views on a show. If you're not meant to be a cop, if you are not built to remain calm under the most extreme pressure, that is what the military teaches you. Day one, remain calm under pressure. Do not fuck up in the face of pressure.
There's a big difference between military and police.
100%. But there are a lot of very brave military people who become police. Absolutely. It happens every day. All I'm saying is, if you are unable to show the most simple level of compassion to another human being, if you are unable to not treat a human like a fucking animal as they beg you for their life, those people should not be police officers. Now, this is on us, the public. This is on people with platforms. This is on police commissioners, mayors, and all the way up to the fucking president to get this done, to say this is not acceptable anymore. And you have two great points. Accountability beyond the blue line is number one. Be that good cop. You're seeing it today. You're seeing cops on social media saying this was not right.
And this is why also I hate this shit, because I would like to believe that the majority of cops are good cops.
They are. No, don't believe it. They are.
That's what I'm saying. And then some shit comes out like this and it resets everything. And there's this war between police officers and citizens that is just so.
That's what's happening. It's a war, and who's the more empowered group? It's the people with
badge and guns.
Yeah, badges and guns. So how can a civilian become equivalent to the people who are currently they're not in totalitarian power, but it's people don't want to go against police officers because right now the stigma is that if you go against a police officer, you're going to get murdered. So it's very difficult for any civilian, especially the people who are standing there seeing a man be murdered. How can they step up and tell a cop that he's not doing his job correctly? It's obvious to any person watching that what that cop was doing was incorrect. But they couldn't do anything other than hold their cameras up. They could, but pressing the cops. What happens when you press the cops?
Because now your life is in danger.
Exactly.
Which is fucking stupid. That shouldn't we should not be here. We should not be here. Something's missing. Something's wrong. We're the protests are backwards. We're fighting for the wrong things that we shouldn't be having to be fighting for. Unfortunately, we are. And I think there's like unfortunately, it's conversations like this that are going to be, I would hope, the beginning of change. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take a really long time. But we don't have to lose any more lives over it.
You'd hope.
My hope.
Logan has said this earlier this morning, and I in anger, and I apologize to people listening to this, and I apologize to you guys for getting fired up about this. For some reason, it affects me badly. I do not like the idea that this is happening. I don't think anybody does, but for whatever reason, it fucks with me. Logan said this morning that this is a complex issue. And I said it's not, but it is. It's such a complex issue that deals with everything from racism to socioeconomic balance to police vetting processes to accountability. This is a very, very dynamic and complex problem.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you, the biggest thing is the fact that being a cop is a job versus human nature. Right. Who knows? What was the cop's name?
Derek Chauvin.
Who knows what kind of sick, twisted fuck this guy is that he's just been waiting to kneel on a black man's neck for his whole life, and because he was bullied in school or ignored by a girl that he liked, and he's got this rage, this anger in him that he can now take out because he has he can exercise his power accordingly because he's a fucking cop.
But what if not saying this is what happened, but it could have been something along the line. So you talked about vetting cops, but what happened if during his tenure as a police officer, something happened that totally flipped him off and he's just been waiting for his chance? How do you check those things? How do we seal these cracks that things keep sliding through?
Communication between partners, but more than anything, you said this a lot today. It's more than a job. You just said it. It's a human nature situation, and the question in me has to always come back to, where is the compassion? Where is the compassion to our brothers and sisters in this country and around the world? How? And I believe that this problem will become more complex. I believe to anyone's point that context clues will come out, and maybe he does shown to have being shown.
That's what I was going to say. This is where the context really does. If you're going to ask that question, the answer involves specifically only context.
But what I'm saying is this: I keep coming back to home base, which is, regardless of context, regardless of this man having an RPG, mowing down grandmothers.
Not even him. No, I'm talking the context of even the officer. Who is this fucking guy?
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
I'll tell you what. It shouldn't. But in this case, if I want to answer your question, you said, where's the compassion? Yeah. If this dude's a sociopath, there is none. He shouldn't be a cop. The vet failed. He didn't. He lost.
Compassion includes understanding someone's prior circumstances to where they are in their life right now.
Fair, but I don't want to get to a point where we then use that understanding of their circumstances to excuse their actions. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're absolutely right. I just can't understand the disconnect. And I'm not a cop, as we know, as I just said. I could never do that job. Where do you think the disconnect is when you have kneeled on a man's neck? I don't know how many life and death situations you guys have been in, coming from someone who's been through quite a bit of them. 5 minutes is an eternity. 5 minutes is an eternity. Yeah. How do you disconnect when kneeling on a man's neck and he is handcuffed, posing no threat, and you know he is becoming he is losing consciousness, losing control of his bodily fluids, losing his life? Where is the disconnect between knowing that you are detaining someone and murdering someone?